okay, the Cowboys pick is in. The Chiefs offense just got that much more dynamic. You look at Tyler Guyton still being on the board. If they're going to stay in here and make this pick, which they are, I would assume Tyler Guyton is the selection. He's got snaps at both left and right tackle. Now, he's a transfer from TCU.
Yes, he is.
Now, he's a freak athlete, 6'7". I think he's got room to fill out. But one of the most impressive things, I mean, you'll see him hustle his ass off. He goes 30 yards down the field to make a block. The hustle, the effort, the play temperament's there. It's just technique issues for me, right? I think the technique can get a little bit sloppy at times, but he's got massive upside. And, the arm length, I think, is something that he can use more to his advantage. But in the run game, once he gets his hands on you, this guy's very, very tough to get away from. So you move back to 29, assuming Tyler Guyton ends up being the selection, and you pick up an extra third. Sure, yes, I'm bummed to move on from Graham Barton. But to get at tackle, I think there's a pretty big drop-off. Once you go from Guyton and maybe Suamataia, there's a big drop-off for me to the next tackles. I think getting a guy like Guyton with the athleticism and the upside here at 29 makes a ton of sense.
The upside is unreal, and I mentioned it before the break, but the first day that I saw from him at the Senior Bowl was phenomenal. He had great work handling against guys that were a little bit bendier than what he was probably used to. He was good at handling speed. He's a former basketball player, and you see that mobility out there on the edge. The next day is where he had some struggles. There was a rep that he lost against Darius Robinson where power in the lower half kind of surprised Guyton, and he was able to get around him on both the outside and the inside. I think there's just a couple of things with Guyton that are going to take some development. It might take a couple of years for him to be what you would want from Tyler Smith, from 2023.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't expect rookie Tyler Smith here, but what I would expect 3 years from now, this guy to be a legitimate tackle and to still be playing for the Dallas Cowboys or starting for the Dallas Cowboys. I think he's a guy that gets a fifth-year option. I kind of guesstimated yesterday some guys that I believe would get fifth years. He's one of them. I think he's got that mobility. He's got that athleticism on the other side. I guess we'll see if that's the pick and if that's where the Cowboys would like to put him. Also, only one start at left tackle during his time at Oklahoma. I wonder how they play with that.
Yeah, it's I like him better than what we're hearing right now.
I like him a lot,
and I can understand because there's some faults to his game. But I see a guy that's 6'8" and 322 pounds.
Massive man.
The length, the athletic ability, the movement skills for a guy that tall and that heavy, it's pretty impressive. I think there's some fluidity to his game and his frame. Aisha's right about the hands. The hands have got to be better there. And hopefully, we talked about the hands in Tyler Smith. What was the problem with Tyler Smith? The hands, the holdings, things like that. And, hopefully that's something that they can correct. But, there's times where he is so tall, it is hard for him to bend his knees.
Yes.
And that's something he can
play high.
He can play a little high.
That's
and
where
tough.
Right, here's Roger Goodell with the Cowboys pick.
NFL Draft. The Dallas Cowboys select Tyler Guyton, tackle, Oklahoma.
There you go. I had 8 tackles in my top.
Hey, I mean, he was one of the 2 best tackles left for me. If it was him and Kingsley Suamataia, and Guyton seemed like a pick that the Cowboys would be eyeing based on the skill set.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he's a guy. The traits are there. There's certainly areas where he needs to improve, but he is a freak athlete. He's got size. To move back and get him at 29 and add an extra third, I think is a good night at the office.
Yeah,
I'm 100% bummed about moving on from Graham Barton. I wouldn't have done that. Personally, I would have stayed in. I would have picked him at 24, and I would have been like, hell yeah, we got our center for the next decade. But to move back, to get Tyler Guyton, who clearly they liked, and the Cowboys taking first-round offensive linemen tends to be a home run. So I really do think that they will have a plan in place for Tyler Guyton. The War Room was very, very excited about this decision. Bobby, what do you think about Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma?
Look, I mean, he is raw. There's no doubt about it. He's still developing. But, Nick just said it a second ago, like if you have Tyler Guyton here, you don't necessarily, you're not going to expect him to have Tyler Smith's rookie season. But I'll say this, like, I know we didn't expect Tyler Smith to have Tyler Smith's rookie season either.
No.
In fact, I think that if you're asking me who did I feel was more raw coming out of school at the time, I felt like Tyler Smith was more raw. But there's definitely similarities here. Look, I'm going to trust the Cowboys if they take an offensive lineman named Tyler from an Oklahoma college.
Yeah, no,
that's what I do. But no, to me, this is a guy who you're talking about all the traits are there. Yeah, the pad level, he's 6'8". The pad
Right,
level,
it's tough.
it takes work. It's not that easy to get low and to keep your pad level low. He's inconsistent with his technique. He's still learning that, but all of the traits are there. And again, this is like the Tyler Smith pick where you knew all the traits were there and you trusted your scouting staff to know this guy has the mental makeup to put it together. And he takes to the teaching, and we trust that he'll be able to do this. So if you give me a traits pick and tell me that the scouts and the coaches are comfortable with, no, we think that he's got the mental makeup to do this, they've got a history of hitting on these traits picks. And
Sure
so
do.
I'm all about this one, especially picking up an extra pick at 73, because I think they would have been happy to take him at 24 in certain situations.
Yeah, no doubt. Tyler Guyton allowing 16 quarterback pressures, just 2 sacks in the last 2 years with 513 pass blocking snaps. Certainly, there are some areas where he needs to improve, but an exciting pick along the offensive line, again, in the first round, replenishing for the Cowboys. Okay, we'll react more to the Tyler Guyton selection. We've also got now the Baltimore Ravens on the clock at 30. We'll go back to what's going to happen in the final picks of the first round. You're listening to the 2024 NFL Draft on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network and DallasCowboys.com.
If you shout, how about them Cowboys?
Yeah, hey, you get Guyton, you get an extra third.
See, that's what I'm saying. That 73,
You can make that a good player.
I'm trying to that to me that you've got to find a way to hit on that thing.
Absolutely.
They you were looking for a 4 going into this thing. You picked up a third on an overpay. And the Barton thing, that's going to be one of those things we're going to look back in history and go, was that really the right move? And
if Guyton pans out, then it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And just got to figure out that take advantage of that player. Take advantage of those 2 picks, or the 3 picks. 56, 73, 87. Do some damage with those 3 guys.
Yeah.
This is where Will McClay and this group needs to really shine, with those picks.
I think, I think there are some people who really believe in Brock Hoffman at center. I think there are others who think he has high upside and that he can be the guy at some point, but maybe he isn't ready for it yet. Here's what I do think is important, though, and what I think is what partially ended up with you were comfortable walking away from Graham Barton and taking Tyler Guyton, is I think that your offensive line coach really believes in Brock Hoffman starting at center.
Yeah.
And I think that matters. And when I say I don't necessarily want to take a defensive tackle because I feel like you need to move resources and stuff, I think your offensive line coach looking at it said, hey, if we're going to talk about what resources we need to use, it's redundant to take a center because I think we've got a starter already. And so I think that's partially what played into it.